Ron DeSantis is taking a new line of attack against the Biden administration, scorching Vice President Kamala Harris as impeachment insurance.
I think she's basically been his impeachment insurance because people know no matter how bad Biden is, nobody wants Harris.
If you remember, when asked if she's prepared to take the reins in the White House, this is what Kamala Harris told Face the Nation anchor Margaret Brennan this past Sunday.
Are you prepared to be commander-in-chief?
Yes, I am, if necessary. But Joe Biden is going to be fine.
The ladies on The View jumped to defend the vice president, opposing the notion that most people don't want President Harris. Here's a clip from yesterday's program.
How many times do people have to say it? And, you know, when they say a poll, you know, I love polls.
We snuck a bunch in while you were away.
that was 1,800 people they checked.
Yeah.
That's not half of America.
Right.
Okay? That's 18. I want them to just say it's 1,800 people. We talked to 1,800 people. Quit saying it's a poll and this is what everybody's thinking because we're hip to you now.
The other co-host weighed in, saying she'd handled questions about Biden's age, quote, perfectly. Does Whoopi Goldberg not understand how polls work?
It seems like she's just getting hip to the program, and she's spreading the word far and wide that polls are not, in fact, the same thing as millions of people voting. It is a sample size, which gives you some indication as to what the broader
representative of the population, though. I mean, we can certainly look into polls too much, but to say it's just like...
Yeah, and look, there's good polls and bad polls, but what we know is that all polls suggest that Kamala Harris has never been popular.
Well, they just keep surveying the wrong 1,800 people. The Kamala Harris supporters are always not in that group of people.
If they get a phone book out, go down to Harris, and then ask all of her cousins and nieces and grandparents and the like, maybe they'll get better results.
Okay.
Maybe. Maybe, because her own constituents in California, where she was senator, weren't that excited about her in the first place. Remember, she had to drop out of the Democratic primary prior to California because polls showed that relative unknown Andrew Yang was beating her in her home state.
Maybe they should try affluent white women in the Northeast. I think that might be a constituency honestly, that would like her.
I think that it is literally the people who graduated in her class at Howard and were also in her sorority. I think there's like a 5,000 AKAs spread across the United States of America that love Kamala Harris. And
they all live here in Washington, D.C. It is not uncommon, this will shock you, real Americans, it is not uncommon to see someone sporting like a Kamala Harris t-shirt in D.C. I've seen it before. Yeah.
My favorite, well, the nature of identity politics is, my favorite is when it's usually like a young white woman who's wearing that.
Sure, yeah.
And they look at me.
I've never seen a black person
I'm jogging in my Bernie shirt and they glare at me and I look at them and it's a whole dynamic.
I have never worn a political shirt ever.
Well, look.
I never will.
Well, you weren't National Press Secretary for a campaign. Right, sure. I got plenty of free swag.
Sure.
But look, I want to ask you about this DeSantis approach. What do you make of the idea of trying to weaponize Kamala Harris as Biden's backup plan as a way to kind of, I guess, jumpstart the general election and make it a tee-off between him and Biden?
One word, smart.
Yeah.
But it's not a particularly novel idea. Kamala Harris, as we've noted, is not, she's maybe at best as popular as Biden, and then there are many indications that she's less popular than Biden. That, you know, Biden stepping aside just to have Kamala Harris would not be, there's very little evidence to suggest that would be an electoral improvement, that would improve the Democratic Party's performance. It's obvious that Republicans know that and have noticed that, and so honestly, running against Kamala Harris is smarter than running against Biden. She's even less popular. So it is, you know, as a way to argue, Joe Biden is out of it. He's not up to the job, and if he falls down on the job, then it's Kamala Harris who's even worse. Yeah, that's a slam dunk argument.
So the Washington Post asked this question yesterday in an op-ed by Aaron Blake called "How Americans Feel About Kamala Harris Becoming President." He cites a CBS YouGov poll that asked a number of questions about Harris, saying, and the verdict was not encouraging. The poll showed that 42% of Americans said the job Harris was doing makes them think worse of the Biden administration, compared to just 18% who said it makes them think better. While 76% of Republicans said she makes them think worse, just 41% of Democrats said she makes them think better. Independents lean strongly toward worse as well, 48% to 9%. Similarly, just 30% of Democrats said they feel enthusiastic about Harris as Biden's running mate. That's not even like president in his stead, just as a running mate, while 3/4 of Democrats said they were at least satisfied with Harris on the ticket. That enthusiastic number is cut in half from where it was shortly after Biden picked her for his running mate in 2020.
Well, now Harris was pressed on CBS recently about the administration's views on abortion. Her answer was not exactly straightforward. Let's take a look.
Republicans say the lack of a precise date in cutting it off. You know this. They say that allows Democrats to perform abortions up until, birth.
Which is ridiculous.
Which is statistically not accurate.
And it's ridiculous.
I understand
and it's a
that.
mischaracterization of the point. No, the point is...
But
the
do you
point
need
is
to be
we
more
have
precise?
I am being precise. We need to put into law the protections of Roe versus Wade.
What?
She's not useful to Biden.
Yeah.
Honestly, Nikki Haley sounded more persuasive, compassionate, and normal when she was talking about abortion during the debate than Kamala Harris sounds there, despite me agreeing with where Kamala Harris is, or where I think she is on abortion, because again, she didn't really unpack the way that the reporter was asking her to unpack what the actual policy is, besides just saying Roe v. Wade needs to come back into play. And maybe that's strategic, because most people do want whatever existed before. They want to reset to the Roe v. Wade standard, even if they don't know exactly what that is. But her job has to be, especially given Biden's state, of being a better, more eloquent voice piece for him and what his administration wants to get across. And I don't know that she's the person for that.
Yeah, I don't either. She just doesn't seem to add anything. But I've said this before, I don't know how they could possibly switch her out now. They're clearly not going to, right? They think, you think they could, but...
They could so easily. They talk to Kamala Harris, they get her to agree to it, they give her a bunch of money or some fancy appointment somewhere privately, and then publicly she says, because of personal reasons, I feel like I have to step down.
You don't think those will get probed aggressively?
Who cares? Literally nobody cares about her. Like, who's going to be the person making this into a media cycle? A couple of people over at the Griot? No, black people don't even like her. Nobody really cares.
Yeah, Republicans will say Joe Biden can't run the country, he can't even pick his own team or something.
Donald Trump tried to get his vice president killed. I think they're okay with the vice president stuff. But Trump is also not his own vice president is running against him in the primary. So if it's a tit for tat about not having confidence in your VP picks, I don't think the Democrats have anything to worry about.
Okay. We'll have more Rising right after this.